Hello everybody and welcome to the first episode on the new series on the channel. This is going to be politics. Now, if you haven't seen the introductory video, I recommend you go and do that. The link will be down below in the description. But to summarize, we will be going through every single UN member and going through their politics, government type, and the whole lot. Today we'll be starting off with Afghanistan because Afghanistan is of course the first nation alphabetically of all countries in the world. Yes, Afghanistan is what we know as a unitary presidential republic. Unitary as in the fact that most policy is dictated from the central government side, or authority that local governments have is given from the central government and presidential. The president is the main and executive figure in the country, and Islamic Republic because it is a republic based on the tenets of Islam. It is not extremely Islamic like Iran, but it is still based on the tenets of Islam, and Islam is the state religion. So let's get on to who governs this country. Afghanistan is governed by the president. The president makes up the government and appoints his ministers. And I'll read you what the Constitution says about the government of Afghanistan. The Constitution says, the government shall be comprised of ministers who work under the supervision and guidance of the president. The president, as of right now, is Ashraf Ghani. Ashraf Ghani was elected in 2014. He is an independent. The president is elected by a two-round system, whereas in the first round everybody can just run. Whoever gets started, I think you need a certain amount of signatures and then you can run. And then in the second round, the top two vote getters from the first round go on to compete against each other. The president has a 5-year term. I think he can sit for 2 consecutive terms, and he has some powers outlined for himself in the Constitution. His role is to supervise the Constitution. Him and his cabinet determine national policy, the direction of the national policy goes, and of course needs legislative approval for these laws. He's the commander-in-chief of the Afghan military. He appoints ministers, ambassadors, the leader of the central bank, lots of other appointments that he makes, and he appoints judges to the Supreme Court. The president is headed up by 2 vice presidents, first and a second, compared to many nations where they just have 1 vice president. These vice presidents are called Abdul Rashid Dostum and Mohammed Sabah Dinesh, not Danish, Dinesh. These vice presidents are elected on the same ballot as the president, and as in many situations, if the president cannot do his duties, the vice presidents will then take over. The first vice president takes over first, and the second takes over second. If the first vice president is not able, this happens both on resignation, death, and incapacitation of the president. Another post that is also in the government is what is known as the Chief Executive Officer. The Chief Executive Officer is what is called a extra constitutional post. There we go, that's a tongue twister, as his post is not mentioned in the Constitution. The Chief Executive Officer is currently Abdullah Abdullah. This post created for him especially in 2014 after the Afghan presidential election was disputed. He thought it was illegitimate, so as an act of national unity, Ashraf Ghani appointed him as Chief Executive Officer of Afghanistan. He, alongside the president, chairs cabinet meetings, and besides that, he does not really have many formal powers. Now, let's look at the legislature, the people who approve or disapprove of what the president is doing. I'll read out for the Constitution now so we can see what it says about the legislature. It's called the National Assembly. It says the National Assembly of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, as the highest legislative organ, shall manifest the will of the people of Afghanistan and as well as represent the entire nation. So we both need to represent the views of the people of Afghanistan and also make sure that we have representatives from the entire nation. Sounds good. It is made up of 2 houses as a bicameral system. The lower house being the House of Peoples, who are elected every 5 years by universal basic suffrage with a secret ballot box. It has 249 members. They're elected in 34 multi-member constituencies which collide with the provinces of Afghanistan. The amount of members elected from these constituencies ranges from 2 to 33, and I'm not going to do it with my hands, all the way from Kabul with 33 to Panjshir with 2. If I pronounced that wrong, please tell me. I probably did. These are not elected through a party list representation or sort. No, they are elected through what's called single non-transferable vote. This is a system where you go in and you vote for a single candidate, like first past post. You vote for a single candidate, and then depending on how many candidates are to be elected, say we have a constituency where there's 5 candidates to be elected, the 5 highest vote getters are elected to Parliament. So what this does basically is there's not as many political parties, and there's a lot more independents, but we'll get to political parties later on. Out of these 249 members elected to serve in the House of People, 68 have to be women, and 10 of the 249 seats are reserved for the coochie nomads, who I guarantee these 10 seats who they elect in their own constituency. The upper house is the House of Elders. The House of Elders is comprised of 102 members, with 2/3 being elected by district and provincial councils to make sure that the whole country geographically is elected, and the last 1/3 is appointed by the president, with 1/2 having to be women, 2 having to be handicapped or physically impaired, and other 2 have to be from the nomadic tribes of Afghanistan. So you kind of get the whole thing through. Of course, though, 1/3 is probably going to be people that the president agrees with, but as the House of Elders has limited powers, it has limited veto powers, and it is in many situations, I've read, only a kind of advisory board to the House of Peoples. The fact that the president gets to appoint 1/3 of them doesn't really matter. The powers of the National Assembly are what you would expect from any national legislator. They have to say yes to all laws, they have to approve the budget, they can dismiss, and the House of People gets to accept ministers and judges to the Supreme Court. Now we're going to talk about the political parties which make up Afghani politics. As mentioned earlier, because of the single non-transferable vote election system, there are not actually that many national political parties in Afghanistan. In the last legislative election, only about 30% of all elected parliamentarians had an official party affiliation. Some elected representatives may have a close affiliation or an ideological affiliation with some parties, but only about 30% had official affiliations. The 3 largest parties at this election were the Janat-e-Islami Party, which is a Tajik party, where they have the People's Islamic Unity Party of Afghanistan, which is a Hazara party, which is about like 9% of the population, and with the National Islamic Movement of Afghanistan, which is a party which represents Uzbek and Tajik minorities. So as you can gauge by these 3 parties, they are parties which mainly represent ethnic and cultural minorities inside Afghanistan, and it's good that they make sure that these parties get representation. Now, going to have to look out who makes sure both the legislature and the president aren't misbehaving. Well, I'll tell you, that is the judiciary. I will again now read from the Afghan constitution to tell you about the judiciary. The constitution reads, "The judiciary shall be an independent organ of the state of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. The judiciary shall be comprised of the Supreme Court, appeals courts, and provincial courts, whose organisation and authority shall be regulated by the law. The Supreme Court shall be the highest judicial organ heading the judicial branch of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan." I'm quickly going to talk about the Supreme Court because they are the most important court in Afghanistan. The Supreme Court members, I think there's 10 of them, or 9. I really should know, but about 9-10 members on the Supreme Court. They are all appointed by the President, approved by the House of People, and they sit for a 10-year term. That is contrary to the United States, where the judges on the Supreme Court sit for life. Now, of course, Afghanistan does not only have internal politics, it also has geopolitics. politics. Afghanistan is a member of a multitude of international organizations. It is of course a member of the United Nations, having joined in 1946. It is a member of Interpol, having joined in 2002. It is a member of the Organization of Islamic Conference, which is a talking club for leaders of the Islamic and Muslim world, where they can get together and talk about issues and maybe even get some agreements down on trade, security, and a plethora of other things. They're a member of the World Trade Organization, with their biggest export partners being Pakistan and India, and largest import partners being the UAE, Pakistan, and the United States of America. The United States of America in the last few years has given around Afghanistan $5 billion in aid every single year, so they have close relations with that. But historically, the best friend of Afghanistan has been Turkey. It has been said that an Afghan has never been killed by a Turkish gun. That's pretty impressive. And they also have quite close relations with Iran, as one of the primary languages of Afghanistan is very, very close to Farsi, which is what they speak in Iran. Then guys, today's fun fact is that there is only one Jewish person left in Afghanistan. His name is Zablon Zimentov. He is a retired restaurateur and currently a carpenter who holds open the last synagogue in Afghanistan. So guys, if you enjoyed this, you know what to do. If you liked it, you also know what to do. Please leave a comment and subscribe if you want to. If I missed anything, please tell me down below. And guys, I'll see you next time, where we'll be discussing Albania.